Hey everyone, welcome to the comeback of the Bitcoin Brief with your host, Tone Vase. Unfortunately, Leah wasn't able to make it this morning. Giacomo may or may not be coming, but we do have Rodolfo and Jimmy on. Man, it's been ages. Jimmy, how you been, man? What's new? The book's out.
Yeah, the book's out. I got my first royalty check earlier this month. That was very exciting. Been doing a lot of other things. I moved, so you can see like a different background. It's not like the busyness over there. I got like a nice plain background. I got some lighting set up and things like that. So yeah, feeling pretty good. Excited to be with you guys again.
This is great. Rodolfo, what's up in your world, man? How are the cold cards selling?
Yeah, man, we're running out of the first batch of the second cold card, the one with the buttons.
Oh,
and we just released the update for BIP39 passphrase, and multi-sig is getting ready. It's a lot of fun. People are really enjoying it.
so it'll be compatible with the Casa nodes, the multi-sig stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to them earlier, and I think once it's out, they can just integrate it. It's pretty straightforward. It's all PSBT based.
All right. Very, very cool. So yeah, we got a bunch of stories to cover. I went through the stories like early this morning. I'm like, man, not much has changed. We've been away for over a month. And the stories aren't going to be that different, but there has been some exciting news. As you can see, I decided to give the beard a break. I'm wearing Rodolfo's hat from Unconfiscatable. Thanks, man. Thanks for rebranding these. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And we missed you guys at Understanding Bitcoin in Malta. Next year, you got to come. That was an amazing conference. And yeah, let's jump right into the stories. And a lot's been, like I said, not much has changed. Man, the concept of shitcoins has now expanded to the IMF. The IMF and the World Bank explore crypto merits with blockchain projects. Apparently, they still don't fully understand the concept of a blockchain. And in this article, I'm just going to read a single paragraph, and it says, the fund said that Learning Coin app could serve as a hub for knowledge, helping host their content like blogs, research videos, and presentations. Achieving certain educational milestones will allow the World Bank and the IMF staff to earn learning coins. They will have no real value, but the developers are testing how staff can redeem the coins for some kind of a reward, the statement said. So they have no real value, but they have some kind of a value. So this is how the IMF is getting into the shitcoin game, which is interesting. And I'm just going to do a couple of stories at a time because they're similar. India, where Bitcoin is actually banned, is also looking to create more blockchain projects. So like they still don't get it. We've been away for months and they still don't get it. General thoughts, guys? Jimmy, let's start with you.
Well, so I think Safety just like sort of put it to rest with his tweet storm about the IMF coin. They already have a shit coin called the special drawing rights, which are part of their whole economic world domination kind of program. And that's been kind of a disaster because the US dollar has is the reserve currency of every central bank, and SDRs actually didn't go very far. The only one that I saw that had like a decent amount of SDRs was the Central Bank of Canada, and of course they don't have any gold. So it's kind of a weird situation. I don't know what they're trying to do. It really sounded a lot like airline miles to me, like they're trying to like create some sort of like special thing that you can only redeem on their side, something like that. India seems to be doing similar things. I've said this before. A lot of central banks are going to go towards this direction because they want to know what all of their citizens are doing with their money, and they can like sort of stop transactions and so on. This is, in a sense, the ability to control the trade of everybody in their country. And that's something that governments are going to increasingly want to do. Of course, they'll say, oh, it's going to be more convenient and it's going to be more stable and all this other stuff. Really, it's a way to take away more of our personal liberties. And India, of course, is like ban large notes of cash, and they're going in this direction. You can see where this is going, and I don't like it one bit. Thankfully, Bitcoin exists, and that's what's going to eat their lunches.
All right, Rodolfo, your thoughts?
Yeah, laggards be laggards. It's they know that Bitcoin is going to eat their lunch, so that they're coming in with their surveillance federal banking now. This coins, they'll never work. I mean, this is just like a wrapper on top of the standard garbage that they already have. All fiat is already digital anyways. I mean, the amount of cash in the world is pretty small. And a lot of these developing countries, they have major issues with tax collection as is, because they have shit currencies and shit tax systems. So they need a way to really sort of tighten their controls over the citizens. And I think that people just won't have it. And they're going to keep on finding ways of doing what they have to do in the black market.
All right, so let's move on from the government trying to figure out how to create a shitcoin to unscalable shitcoins that already exist. So I'm not sure if you want to talk about these one at a time, or we can kind of group them all together, or maybe in small bunches. But the Ethereum core developers are debating the benefits of more frequent hard forks. So this was actually a pretty good read. So they're actually trying to do it once every 3 months. My favorite statement, I believe, is right here. It was from, oh man, where was it? I should have, I think I texted it to you guys. Nope, it's up here. It should have been more prepared. Where was it? Here. In addition to this Ethereum Foundation advisor, they're all advisors, Greg Colvin, noted that most teams building Ethereum software clients do not presently have the right person to handle essential jobs for hard fork implementations, such as setting up test nets, who needs that, running test cases, doing testing, among other responsibility. To this, Horizen responded, the matter was about not having enough finances to onboard such team members. For us, it's money. We don't have enough money to behind it. Question Horizen. So this is so Ethereum clearly didn't print enough Ethereum tokens when they launched, and now they can't seem to afford development, and they want to go into the route of hard forking. Let's do these 2 at a time. Maybe we have a few. I love this story because the EOS blockchain, I believe, is already bigger in the amount of terabytes it stores than the Ethereum blockchain, and it just got an additional 700,000 users storing all of their job market data onto the EOS blockchain because it's clearly free data storage. Thoughts on Ethereum and its latest competitor to try and create a bigger pile of data storage?
Man, it's fascinating how much stupidity there is on this. So we all know that Ethereum never solved the problem, right? I mean, they just lied their teeth off, have great marketing, and came up with a garbage chain that is completely centralized. And then they were sort of lying about proof of stake as a way of going forward, and everybody who understands any of this stuff knows it's bullshit. Now, they're telling all the people, Ethereum has the most amount of developers, the coolest people work for Ethereum. Well, yes, it's a bunch of web devs, right? It's like people who used to make PHP websites, and then like they were making, the coolest and most latest some JavaScript websites, and they're trying to build economic applications based on money. Of course, this doesn't end well. it's amazing to me that we're still even debating like about Ethereum, like being something worthy of talking about. And then there is EOS, right? Where, I mean, let's take this stupidity even further, right? And vote on this sort of oligarchic sort of base systems where you will, I mean, there's just no hope here, you know. There really is no hope. This project is just gluten for punishment.
Yeah, wait, I forgot to read one thing before we go to Jimmy. Just the last couple of things. Agreeing to continue debate and discussion on EIP, which is their like the BIPs and Bitcoin, in further weeks. Swendy concluded that at present he remains skeptical about implementing such large changes into the old engine, which basically takes a couple of hard forks before it finally settles. But agreeing with uncertain sentiment around the future of Ethereum 2.0, Horizen, who raised the initial question about ambitious multi-hard fork upgrades, said, we shouldn't adjust our roadmap or thinking based on what Ethereum 2.0 may or may not be. Jimmy, thoughts on all this, plus Ethereum's new 2.0 platform?
Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar, Ethereum 2.0 is a complete rewrite of Ethereum. And the way they're going to do it is they're going to create this super awesome system because they made a bunch of mistakes in Ethereum 1.0. And the way it's going to work is at a certain point, you're going to be able to trade Ethereum 1.0 tokens for Ethereum 2.0 tokens on a one-to-one basis, but you can't go the other way. And the idea is you can push everyone to this new actually scalable platform, supposedly. And, you know, it's going to be awesome. And, you know, the new thing's going to be, you know, proof of stake driven and all this other stuff. And they have to do this because Ethereum 1.0 is completely unscalable and they can't really do anything about it. And they realize that the architecture is so flawed that they have to like basically start over from scratch using Ethereum 2.0. The best estimates I've heard from developers about creating something Ethereum 2.0, just given the documentation that's out there already in a secure way, is somewhere around a decade, right? Like it's a really long time to get something that secure that's going to be able to do something like that. I believe the Ethereum Foundation is thinking like 2 or 3 years. Much like their Ethereum 1.0 thing, which I thought would take like 2 or 3 years. They claimed that it was 12 months. They actually completed in something like 18 to 24 months. I imagine it's going to be somewhere between their very optimistic estimate and what it would take to actually do it correctly. Now, as far as the actual Ethereum stuff and hard forking and stuff like that, yeah, of course they want to do more frequent hard forks because that's how they control the chain. Whenever there's like, you know, somebody that wants something new or they want to change the incentives, they're like any central government. They want to be able to control things a little bit better. Like any central bank, they want more dials to turn and things like that. And a hard fork is really just kind of a resetting of everything anytime that they want to. And of course, it's very hard to find testers to do all that stuff. I mean, you're going to need like a very large test matrix of things that are going to break as a result of the hard fork and things. And you know, like Rodolfo said, a lot of these guys aren't really you know, full stack developers. They're mostly like kind of front endy, like script kiddie type, you know, Java. You know, I know some React, and therefore I can like make smart contracts. That's sort of the attitude that they have. Of course, that's not the case. Like when you're dealing with financial stuff, you have to be able to prove that your contract does what it says it will and things like that. So it really is going to centralize it even more, because the only thing that's going to be actually tested is something like Infura, which is what the vast majority of the Ethereum ecosystem uses. Infura, if you don't know, is the Ethereum blockchain that's available via API that's run by Consensus. And the vast majority of dApps just use Infura, and that's it. And isn't that just like isn't that like your own instance of Ethereum where you're just in full control? Well, Infura is basically, yeah, their thing, and you can do whatever you want with it. like Joe controls Infura, right? Like, and that's their full node, and that's the equivalent, and that's basically what everyone uses. And of course, they test that because that's kind of a commercial product, although they don't charge any money for, from what I understand. So instead of like hiring a tester and running your own full node and going through a test matrix and things like that, people are going to just be more motivated to use something that's out there that's completely centralized, like Infura, and that's going to continue going in that direction. And in that regard, EOS is even worse, right? Like they basically have 24 guys that decide what goes into their chain or not. And apparently this particular application
21. Why do people keep making them more decentralized?
I don't know what the number is, but whatever it is, it's a very low number of people that get to decide on that blockchain. So yeah, I mean, this is what like further and further centralization looks like. More frequent hard forks, larger and larger pieces of data, so you can't run your own node. Your freedom is basically, your liberty is being taken away from you in these chains, and we knew that already. But it's becoming more and more apparent to the people that are running it. At some point, like kind of like the United States Constitution, it's going to get degraded until it's going to be kind of like a police state, basically.
I mean, ultimately, nobody uses Ethereum or EOS. What was that? Somebody did the math like recently. What was it? Like 5,000 active users per day doing essentially like nothing interesting but CryptoKitties or something. Why people are still trading this Ponzi, it's still amazing to me.
Hey, last question before we move on. Any idea how they're paying for Ethereum 2.0 development?
They have a war chest.
Yeah, I mean, the Ethereum Foundation had, from the very early pre-mine, they have a significant amount of Ethereum in there.
They raised about 20 million, I think, and they bought Bitcoin with it.
I mean, they raised a lot of money, like very initially, and when they distributed the tokens, they kept they pre-mined.
Oh no, I know all that, but I figured that based on how irresponsible these people generally are, I thought they'd blow through all that money already and they'd need another round of ICO. But you're saying it's probably the original funding from 2014?
As I understand, they did blow a lot of money, and they also took a massive hit because of the price crash on the last run. Right. But they still have a few million left to sort of get this going.
Well, I mean, more than a few million. I mean, so the way initially they raised a bunch of Bitcoin when they did their crowd sale in 2014. And they ran out of that. They had to raise additional money by issuing them new tokens. But then they issued even more tokens for the Ethereum Foundation as part of the pre-mine before Ethereum launched. And the kind of thing you can do when you can print your own money is print money for yourself. And that's essentially what they did. And I imagine one of these hard forks, one of the things that they're going to slip in is, we're running out of money for Ethereum 2.0. Let's just print more money so that, these guys can have, be funded, and we can have like a stable ecosystem, or the rest of you are going to go down to zero. That's going to be sort of like the threat that they're going to give to the community.
Or they will go and do like a Zcash and just charge a 20% tax on mining.
Oh yeah. They could absolutely do it.
Speaking of Zcash, we're moving on.
There you go.
Zuko Wilcox envisions ambitious changes to Zcash cryptocurrency. So the CEO and sole person in charge of the Zcash currency and the Zcash protocol is guiding it into a new direction. So here we go. And sticking with centralized shitcoins for 200, we have the clone of Zcash, which used to be called Zencash, and they are rebranding to Horizen and are raising more money. Like you can't make this shit up. We go away for 2 months and like nothing changes.
But again, it's like there is so much stupid to take the money from, right? And I mean, but this model is gonna work for at least another 10 years, you know, because the people who are early, like in the scam, right? Like the people who give like the seed round to this like shit coins, like they make a killing because of the next round of suckers. This is not gonna change. I still think that there's another good 10 years of this crap.
I so hope you're wrong. Jimmy, Zcash, Zencash, centralized leaders, rebranding, changing directions. Just take 2 minutes and then we're gonna move on to shitcoins for 300.
Yeah. So I mean, this is what altcoins can do. They can hard fork, and every hard fork is really kind of like taking more of the wealth of the community that you know from them, right? Like that's what the potential for every hard fork is. It's kind of like raising the debt ceiling here in the United States or something like that. It's we're gonna print more money, or we're gonna change incentives, or we're gonna do whatever. And you know, like we saw in the previous story about Ethereum, the more they want more frequent hard forks as a way to change things and to make it a more perfect thing than it was before. Again, they have this sense that this is a technology and not a money, despite, you know, most people valuing it as a money. They think, oh, okay, well, if we get this feature in, then everyone will come or something like that. At best, what we've seen is that it'll last for a few months and then it'll go away very quietly, kind of like CryptoKitties did. But this is the sort of thing that happens, right? Like in any economy, you have people that you know, provide goods and services, which adds to civilization, or you have people that are trying to print money. A lot of these altcoiners are just printing money, and that's kind of where we are right now.
All right, let's stick with one more round of one of our favorite shitcoins, and the Japanese bank abandons work with SBI Ripple's MoneyTap app. Okay, so this bank was apparently using Ripple's X Current, which may or may not use the Ripple printed money / security / scam token. It was really hard to figure out, but a bank realized how useless Ripple is and has left the project. Now, I went over to the Ripple website to try to figure out what the hell is X Current and how it's different from their other two products, X Rapid and X Via. So X Rapid is supposed to be the one that uses the Ripple token. Now, the thing that I really found interesting is over here where it says, watch how X Current works. Maybe we should see watch how X Rapid works. I don't know if they have a video for that. It looks like they do not. So the only video that they have that actually explains this stuff is here. I played the video this morning. It does not mention the Ripple scam token once. So like, again, we haven't done the show in a while. I may or may not have a bunch of new viewers. Can we please explain to them what the Ripple token is and what it does? And it's a rhetorical question because I know neither of you know what the Ripple token is or what it does, because I don't. Jimmy, give it a shot.
Well, the Ripple token originally, at least as far as I understood, when they were giving away a ton of their tokens to just get it more distributed, and instead of all with the Ripple Labs company, was supposed to be like payment for, you know, doing transactions on the Ripple network. At one point, you were able to transfer Bitcoins on the Ripple network somehow using the Ripple tokens. They've since made like 6 different other tokens for some various reason, and really the whole Ripple strategy seems to be make it as confusing as possible so no one can actually figure out what the hell is going on, and then like put out press releases and then you know, claim that anyone that is criticizing Ripple just doesn't understand it because they just made it as confusing as possible with 6 different tokens and 6 different networks or something like that. Doesn't surprise me that this particular bank has stopped. They're probably getting almost no business doing this, or they're not seeing any benefit out of it. And, you know, like They're like, why are we, putting people towards this if it's not giving us anything? Financial people in that way can be very practical. If they're paying for something that's not giving them anything, they'll just kind of cut it off. I imagine this will happen more in the future unless Ripple goes ahead and bribes them with more money, like they have so many universities and so many CS departments and so many charities and so on.
Well, it's because they have an infinite sum of money. I mean, this is how they can hire the former chairman of the SEC to represent them in a legal case that they're not a security. This is how they can pay Bill Clinton to speak at their events, because they printed a few $1 billion worth of the Ripple.
Oh, don't forget Snoop Dogg. They got Snoop Dogg. Yeah.
Right. Rodolfo, your thoughts? Please explain Ripple to us.
Ripple makes no sense. How about that? So, I mean, like, it's actually like the old before Bitcoin Ripple technology was actually interesting. I mean, doing atomic swaps and sort of like having this federated nodes kind of system was actually interesting. The problem is, like, one, I don't fully understand to tell you if it's secure or not. It does not seem to be secure as they moved forward with their tech. Remember, they lost, I don't know how many millions of dollars, like, in the system, just poof, disappeared. The accounting of it disappeared too. So, we know the system is flawed. These are guys who have been around for quite some time. So I'm sure they personally have made a ton of money. And every time this company starts to look like it's going to lose it, they probably inject a little bit more, get other suckers to be in. And yeah, I mean, I remember they used to like camp in front of our 4 main banks here in Toronto and to try to get them to use it. And they're willing to pay customers to use their technology, which makes no sense. There is no value added on this. It's just another inefficient way of doing banking, and banks understand that. So yeah, I mean, just another blockchain tech wanting to separate suckers from their money.
All right, we're going through these stories quick. I've heard this mentioned a few times. I honestly don't know what the hell the MakerDAO is, but there were 2 headlines this week. MakerDAO to increase fees above 10% in a bid to stabilize the DAI stablecoin, which I'm also not familiar with. And I think this is not the first time they're raising fees, because stablecoins that are made up.
Hello?
Yeah, tone crashed.
Yeah, I think you
We'll
did.
take over from here.
Rodolfo, what do you think about MakerDAO and the DAI stablecoin? What's the deal with this?
So as far as I understand, the DAI is Ethereum's tentative as making a sort of tether of the sorts. The difference is that it's extra centralized because, it's Ethereum, and it's on top of a DAO. So what could go wrong when a DAO?
Sorry. I lost connection. I really want to know what a MakerDAO is. You have to repeat it, Rodolfo. I have no clue what this. This sounds hilarious to me. I called out the last DAO, the DAO. Like I said, you were going to lose all of your money, and it was like a week before they lost all of your money. Please start again. For me, I have no idea what happened to my connection.
So as far as I understand, the DAI is a Tether competitor or some sort of like a stable coin, but is running on top of a DAO that's running on top of Ethereum, right? So can you imagine how impossible it's going to be for people to lose all their money on this like shit sandwich?
Oh, I can definitely imagine how possible it's going to be to do that.
No, it's not going to happen. It's super safe. The funds are safe.
Jimmy, are you familiar with the DAI and the MakerDAO and how cluster functions?
Yeah, so from what I understand, this is like sort of the new Ethereum DApp that everyone is proclaiming to be the thing that's going to make Ethereum like super useful.
Great again.
Yeah, this is CryptoKitties, just like 2.0, something like that. It's what everyone's going to say is like the awesome thing about Ethereum. 6 months later, no one's gonna know, think about it, and like all the volume's gonna be low and everything else. Essentially, what MakerDAO is it allows like going short and leverage trading and all the wonderful things that led to the 2008 crisis. I think Satoshi would be basically rolling in his grave if he found out that, well, I don't know if he's dead or not, but Satoshi would be very upset at the concept of something like this, which is basically increasing the Ethereum ecosystem's fragility from a financial standpoint, like significantly. Inducing more bailouts and so on by having all of these mechanisms that allow that. Now, the first sort of thing that on top of MakerDAO that's been made is DAI, and it's basically kind of like a stable coin, but it's done using some market mechanisms and so on. I think my partner at Blockchain Capital, Spencer Bogart, wrote a pretty long tweet storm asking questions about, okay, well, why would people buy this if not, and so on. One of those things is the fees for MakerDAO to stabilize the DAI stablecoin. Apparently, you need enough people to sell and to buy when the DAI token is not actually stable with the coin that it's trying to be stable against. So, like the increase in fees is supposed to cause, like, I guess, a sell or a buy. I forget which one, but that's the idea. It's kind of, I mean, like, people have tried this stuff before, right? Like trying to automate like the, creating incentives in such a way. It turns out that the people that are actually trading on this stuff tend to be smart, as a collective, are smarter than the people that designed it. And this is what I would call sort of the arrogance of the person that's making it, thinking that they've thought through all of the cases and all
in JavaScript, right?
Yeah. In Solidity or JavaScript or whatever.
I think we should make a bet. I mean, do you think it's going to be a semicolon, or it's going to be a single quote, double quote that makes $200 million disappear?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what they're trying to do, and this is quote unquote like the killer app for Ethereum. And so many people are like, oh, well, I put money into DAI, and like I didn't have to lose all that money on Ethereum because when it came crashing down or something like that. That's been the argument, and like I think a bunch of people have moved to DAI from like some of the Ethereum that they raised in their ICO and things like that. You're just basically building up a very fragile infrastructure with lots of leverage trading and things like that. I can't see this going all that far without injections of liquidity later on.
How is the MakerDAO and the DAI on top of the MakerDAO going to transition onto Ethereum 2.0?
That's a great question.
I'm sure they'll have a very simple 40 steps that it's only going to make about 90% of the people lose their money. But it's going to be very easy 40 steps.
All right, guys, that was fun. So oh man, so the next story, I wasn't really going to add this, but I couldn't help it. Oh, wait, not that one. Sorry, we covered that one. Polychain's assets dropped $376 million since August, the SEC filing shows. So this is Orlov Carson-Wee, who was the genius. Was he like a mailman, a risk analyst at Coinbase or something like that? I don't remember. But he made a lot of money in the shitcoin space, and he started his own hedge fund. Now, I thought the name sounded familiar, so I just now Googled. Almost 2 years ago now. Wow, I can't believe CryptoScam is that old. So where was I? Here or there? Here. So in October of 2017, I did an episode of CryptoScam. And by the way, CryptoScam is coming back later today with the greatest episode I will have ever done. I'm trying to make podcast history here. CryptoScam is coming back tonight. Okay, there will be so here it is, and maybe I can play it for you guys real quick. I haven't. Hold on. Let's just Google it. Okay, let's check out his LinkedIn. Can you guys hear this?
Yeah.
Check out. Nope, that's another Forbes article. I can take a guess at who wrote it. Hold on. Let's.
There is somebody on your sofa on that episode. I can see feet.
Yes. All right, hold on. So I was researching Olaf Carson experience.
Oh, it's Olaf's.
Yes, it's Olaf's fund. First employee at
Coinbase. I was wondering what Polychain was. Wasn't he he was the support person at Coinbase in the early days?
I think so, yeah. But he started his own support.
Wait. Isn't this the woman that we saw at LA BlockCon?
He's got a degree in sociology. He really knows his finance. Was the head of risk at Coinbase. This actually tells me that Coinbase is.
He wasn't the head of risk on the beginning. He was support. I remember him on Reddit being actual support.
Here's what head of risks usually have. Okay, there's this exam. People that probably don't know it exists. If you're hearing about this for the first time, you're learning. They don't need to really manage your own. So this is me. Research. Oh, this was their website. Polychain. I had enough of this nonsense. Hey, check out their website. So this was photography. What, over a year ago now? Oh man, where's their website? So I went to their website over a year ago. Amazing member. Sure, I can't find it. It was right there. So there is the Polychain Capital website. This is from October, and I went to their website today, and it hasn't changed. This is that hedge fund's website right now, the same as it was in October of 2017. So I did that episode, CryptoScam, Crypto Hedge Funds. I think it was a classic. I think I'm going to break that classic later today with another episode of CryptoScam, so tune in. But yes, this is what's happening now to the genius hedge fund managers of the 2017 era. So there you go, the CryptoScam episode.
Wait, so is this the Sparkle Pony that we saw at LA BlockCon or no? Is that a different hedge fund?
No, I think it's another one. I think.
All right, I thought that was the same one. That would have been hilarious.
I'm not. No. I don't know, but like it's amazing. But like I don't remember him as a support staff. I mean, I thought he started. I don't know, but like the guy doesn't know what he's doing, right? I mean, he just got he earned like $100 million from trading in the shit coins, probably by being an insider at Coinbase. Sorry about that, Coindesk. And he started his own fund, and he just lost $387 million, which is great.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? Like, after everybody did some insider trading working for Coinbase, they all became expert hedge fund managers, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, all experts. They accidentally bumped into illegal trades, made a shit ton of money, but they're so stupid. But so stupid that they managed to actually lose it right after. Dude, go sip some caipirinhas, in a beach in Brazil instead of trying to trade. You were lucky.
Yeah, so we'll see if the regulators will have anything to say about that. Now we got a couple of. We're saving the best for last, guys. We are going to get to HODLNUT and Peter McCormick in a minute. But before we do that, there are people on the internet that think that the government can easily shut down the internet to stop Bitcoin. Rodolfo, you got involved in this little tweet storm. Give us the TLDR.
Click on that tweet there, like on that one, and then oh shit, where's the map? Click it. Oh man, click again on that one. So anyway, so this guy, right, expert again.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go. Click on that map, on that tweet there, on live month. There you go. So, so this is the typical moron, right? We can turn off the internet in North America in mere minutes to shut off Bitcoin, right? First, let's just understand the consequences of turning off the internet in the Western world, right? Well, I mean, the economy is going to collapse. In Roger's verse words, babies are going to die, you know, and then I'm like, you know, explaining to this guy that even if the internet goes off, you know, there is other ways around because there is many countries in the world and you can still hedge your connections that way. These guys bring the example and I'm like, show me, right? Please show me a single Western world that had the internet disconnected for an extended period of time. China. China closes the internet. Russia did it too. I mean, I don't see a map of China.
When did China and when did Russia do that?
Exactly. Well, Russia did turn off their internet for like a little period of time, but Russia is not a functional Western country. It is essentially a dictatorship in a country that's financially failing, right? Like, I mean, and even with the internet shut off, people were able to still like connect with cell phones using antennas from the border from other countries, right? Like, I am so tired of this argument.
Well, this is
sorry.
Oh no, well, this is that same thing when like when Saifedean went at it with Francis Coppola, when she was like, well, this is when she was using like when Venezuela cut off like their internet, and she's like, well, this is the problem with Bitcoin. What are you gonna do when there's no electricity? Because Venezuela like had no electricity, and his reply was, it was like, so what did socialists use before candles? And it says electricity. Yeah.
It's like, you know, the level of circular reasoning these people use, experts, right? Like employed experts, right? It's fascinating to me. It's kind of like when she said, what is the adoption rate of Bitcoin in goat herders in like Nepal or something, right? I mean, you know, it's probably the same as Visa. I bet with you that Visa has the same adoption rate as Bitcoin does for goat herders in Nepal. You know, like, what is wrong with these people? And this was getting a lot of traction.
Jimmy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I it's kind of a specious argument, and we know that people can generate their own electricity in various ways. And you know, there are generators and things like that, and there's also the Blockstream satellite. This is it's sort of like a worst case scenario, kind of like they can't think of anything else to criticize Bitcoin on. I don't pay attention to this.
So, you know, there is essentially 200 countries in the world, right? So if just part of them allow you to use the internet as is, you can still do business, right, on Bitcoin. And then you can bypass borders with like all kinds of radio. And then on top of that, you know, sure, you can kill the satellite company that, say, you know, China uses, but then you can't, you know, go after the other country. These countries hate each other too. Like, look at Snowden, right? You know, the guy is being kept in Russia, right? Like, he's like running away from US and Russia. You can always find another country that hates the country that's trying to do something to you, right? And you move infrastructure there.
And here's the thing, right? If the US and Canada, let's throw Mexico in there as well, right? If let's say the North America decided to turn off the internet, I have a very good feeling that within 3 months, it'll be a lot easier to use Bitcoin through the satellite system than any other form of digital payment.
Wait, no. So there is a problem, right? So the satellite feed that Blockstream uses, I believe is an American company. I think they have subsidiaries in other countries, but like the main issue with the satellite, it is true. I mean, if you go after the company that runs the satellite feed, you can turn it off, right? But that still doesn't matter because there's other ways of getting information around. You can hire a satellite feed from a different country. Say, you know, if US hates Bitcoin, I guarantee you China is going to immediately start loving it. And they're going to let you add satellite feeds to it. Same in Russia, right? But, you know, there's still a ton of like microwave gear out there that you can repurpose to transact over kilometers, right? You know, will we slow down Bitcoin for a few months until things get sorted out? Sure, it's going to slow down, but it's still totally doable.
All right, guys, we gotta get over to our main story of the day, and we have over 1,000 live viewers, which is great. So let's talk about the recent attacks and cease and desists and bounties. And my CryptoScam episode is going to be on this topic as well. So first, we have Craig Wright threatens libel suit in a letter to Bitcoiner, demands an apology. But this is an anonymous Bitcoiner, HODLNut, who he offered a $5,000 bounty in Bitcoin Bitcoin SV, which he would pay in Bitcoin SV, which may be difficult considering they just got delisted, but we'll get to that in a minute, which may be difficult to cash in. They're getting delisted from at least Binance, but so he was trying to identify him. Apparently, he had some pictures with tattoos on his hands. And he's saying if anyone recognizes those tattoos. So the end result was that HODLNut deleted his Twitter account. And so that's one story of Craig Wright and Calvin Ayre going after a person. The other story is, of course, Peter McCormick, who received a cease and desist letter to apologize and delete all the bad things he ever said about Craig Wright and Bitcoin SV. And claiming that Craig Wright is not Satoshi. And that letter was sent to him on April 12th. I believe today is what, April 15th. So 3 days ago, Peter immediately published this letter. And he did say that, hey, this is probably not the wisest thing to do, but he is taking it public to show people what happened. It already has 3,500 tweets. This has led to a huge backlash in the industry that included Binance. This just broke this morning. I didn't really see the full story, but it looks like Binance is planning to delist Bitcoin SV. I don't know if other exchanges will file suit, guys. I mean, it's a nice moral stand for Binance, but that just means those that want to trade Bitcoin SV will just pay those fees somewhere else. So again, it's hard to get the entire community to agree. I mean, it's a good start. To delist Bitcoin SV, which is going to go away by itself anyway, eventually. So general thoughts on what's going on. And I will add the fact that I got my own cease and desist earlier this week as well. I actually got it 2 days. It's dated 2 days before Peter McCormick's cease and desist. And that is what tonight's CryptoScam is going to be all about. I will also publish my letter publicly. But it's not from Craig Wright, so stay tuned and tune in. Who wants to go first? Jimmy, you want to go on this?
Yeah. So I think you should bring up weareallhodlnot.com. That is the site.
Oh, I didn't even know there was one. We are all
hodl
which is, by the way, running on BTC Pay.
Yeah,
awesome.
So they're using. Well, no. weareallhodlnot.com is the yeah, there we go. HODL. So this is where you can donate for the legal defense of people like HODLNot and Peter McCormick and stuff like that.
I think after tonight's episode, I'm gonna be added to this.
Yeah, well, maybe, possibly. So it's already $28,000 raised. They had a soft cap goal of $20,000. From what I understand, this website was created like maybe a day and a half ago. It got to 100% real quick. The entire community, basically, other than the BSV people, are united in thinking that this is a ridiculous and stupid way to use the legal system to bully around people. Just because they're saying Craig Wright is not Satoshi. Craig Wright is not Satoshi. So, I mean, like that's pretty much beyond doubt for nearly everyone in the space. The fact that he's going around suing people, like saying, like to pretend that he's actually not, reminds me of what Lance Armstrong was doing at one point. He was suing everyone that was telling people that he wasn't using that he was using steroids. Later on, of course, he was, his sample
guilty
was
of using steroids. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
if a scam coin is suing you, there is a much higher probability that they are actually a scam coin.
These are called slap suits. It's like a nonsense way of getting people to back off because it costs a lot of money to defend yourself, even if you're right. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And a lot of jurisdictions have passed legislation to make it much harder and get that sort of thrown off, including where I live. Because reporters, journalists get hit with this stuff all the time.
Yeah, so I will note with prejudice that the Bitcoin SV market has dropped. Well, right after the Binance announcement, they dropped about $5 or almost 10% right away. Love Peter McCormick's response to the cease and desist letter, especially the very last page of it where he signs his name, Peter McCormick, age 40. I mean, like that's a better signature than any signature that Craig Wright has produced. So I love that he's like defending himself against this like very terrible bully, actually. And Calvin Aaron, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, you really want to go down with this ship? Like, you really want to go down with the guy that, I mean, your reputation's already in tatters, but you know, you keep pushing these lawsuits and funding this guy, you are going to be in serious, like, no one's going to want to do business with you ever. You're going to be known as a fraudster for the rest of your life. I mean, like, do you really want that? Like, is that the kind of life you want to lead? I don't either, you know, like he's got you under a spell and hypnotized you or something, or you're just like way too greedy for his coins that he's promised you or something like that and don't understand cryptography. Just hire somebody that understands like elliptic curve cryptography and ask him for a signature, right? Like it's,
let's not forget that Ver was the person who made, you know, CSW like become famous again.
Yeah, and Roger Ver deserves a lot of the responsibility for bringing him into prominence because he was looking for any political ally for his Bitcoin Cash or 2x stuff, and he found one in Craig Wright, despite knowing that this guy was a scumbag, and that's kind of what's happened. It's come back to bite him. You know, you gotta sleep in the bed that you've made, man.
You know, I'm loving this. Aside from the hardship on Hodonot, this is fantastic, right? Because the amount of like media and websites and like Google is going to be littered with this stuff, sort of like really helps going forward, right? Because it's going to be very hard for him to erase all this crap going back. So say this thing sort of like washes off, you know, in a year or two, it's going to be very hard for him to try to do business then because people are going to be able to just Google in like 1 second, see all this crap. So the louder this thing gets, the better it is.
Yeah, no, and like I said, mine is coming tonight, right? So I'm going to show my a letter that I got from a lawyer from on behalf of a company, also accusing me of libel and defamation and it was very similar to the letter that Peter McCormick got, saying that I have to delete everything I ever said about this company and apologize and pay for their legal fees. And I wrote up my, well, it wasn't just me, but a reply to them has been written up, and I will show that on my episode of CryptoScam later today. And that's going to be an addition. It's like a similar situation to Peter. So it'll be very interesting, and that's more stuff in there because, you know, people have to know how they can defend themselves and stand up to these bullies.
You know, the asymmetry of slap suits is really the problem, right? You know, because these letters are like templates for lawyers. So you can find any run-of-the-mill lawyer to just review the content in 5 minutes and then write the letter, which is probably already written, and send it to a bunch of people. The problem is that to defend yourself, it's going to cost a minimum of like, say, $20,000 if you sort of immediately get that thrown out or win very easily. If you actually have to litigate this, even if you're right, it's still going to cost you like $100,000 to go through. So that asymmetric issue is really sort of a problem. And if you lose, you still get probably assigned costs. So you still have to pay the other side's legal fees. It's a tricky one.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's do some announcements. I'm not really going to do much on my side. I just came back from Philly. Here's the next round of workshops. After that, I'm probably going to be focusing more on the webinar model. I'm in Mexico next week, then in New York for a workshop around consensus. I figure everyone's in town. Then I will be Rome, Amsterdam, and Berlin. Jimmy, let's go over to you. Programming blockchain and your book. Is there a different website? Should I pull up the book on Amazon? How do you want to, or is it on your website, Programming Blockchain, with the link, with the referral link?
Yeah, so I changed the name of my website to programmingbitcoin.com because obviously that's the book, right? So
it's not programming crypto?
no, it's programming.
You're not going to make a programming Ethereum next, like mastering Ethereum?
No. A lot of people were misconstruing programming blockchain as like trying to make it like, for any blockchain. Really, it's just blockchain layer of Bitcoin that my seminar is about. And, I'm working on a programming wallet, which would be a layer on top. But anyway, I do have this book available on Amazon. Amazon has dropped the price several times. It is now $40.59.
Nice.
It used to be $60. It was at $54. It was at $48. Now it's at $40.59, the lowest it's been. So please buy the book if you are interested. I will be doing some various signings at the next few conferences I'm going to go to. Speaking of which, I do have one more seminar coming up for programming blockchain. That is, if you click on the programming blockchain link, that's so I'm going to do it right after consensus. So Tones is before, mine is after. It's in New York.
Mine is right before, mine is the Saturday before.
Yeah, mine is going to be the Thursday and Friday of the same week as consensus, and it's going to be in New York City. If you are interested, if you do want to learn all of this stuff, you'll get it in a quick 2 days. I'll give you also a copy of my book so you can study it a little slower afterwards. Very good way to learn all this stuff. In the meantime, I am working on a separate seminar that builds on top of this one, which will be programming wallet. I'm trying to get a hardware component so you can understand it better by programming a piece of embedded hardware to make it work. But yeah, that's all in the works. Stay tuned for that. Book, programming blockchain. I will be also speaking at Consensus with my good friend Ken Liu. That will really be fun, and I'll be doing book signings. And if you haven't seen a book signed by me, it involves like a physical signature, but I take a picture of it and then I sign it with sign the SHA-256 of that picture with my PGP key. So you get both a physical signature and a digital signature. Only available if you are coming to one of these conferences and see me personally. So there you go.
All right, very cool. Rodolfo, what want to put up? CoinKite?
Just go store.coinkite.com.
C-O-I-N.
So you're missing.
I can't spell, dude.
Instead of Y.
I was a math major for a reason.
There you go. So we have a bunch of stuff happening. We started shipping the Cold Card Mac 2s with the buttons. We have a bunch of new firmware like updates. We have another firmware update coming probably 2-3 weeks for multi-sig as well. So BIP39 passphrases are now supported. If you want to play with hardware wallets, Jimmy, maybe this is for you. You can actually load your own firmware.
Oh.
And then you can sign your firmware with your PIN, so that you know it's stuck in there. And then we have the block clock. Third update came out.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh shit, that's awesome. I should buy one. And then I saw the price.
It's like almost the Bitcoin.
So we used we sourced digits that are actually made for train stations in Europe, and this thing cost a fortune to make, and we wanted to make an object that will last like decades, and that's sort of what that is. The OpenDime V4s came out. This one's say legal tender right on it with an asterisk. And they do a better job at ESD protection and a lot of other little upgrades. And we have the industrial grade micro SD cards for backing up your cold cards. This is really neat because cold card can encrypt your seed for you in the environment that's already trusted, and then put that in an industrial grade micro SD card so that you don't have to worry about your backups being clear text somewhere. And you can make a few of those, and you can put that in your safe deposit box and not be worried that one day somebody goes there, drill your box, and takes your keys. If they do, well, too bad for them. They're going to have to really try to break some strong encryption. I think that's it. I mean, just follow us on Twitter, either me or one of our products, and you get the updates.
All right, very cool. Thanks, guys. I do have to cover a little bit on the price side. Feel free to stick around. Feel free to get going. It's been a great episode. Missed you guys. We can talk to the text tonight about maybe doing this again tomorrow. Well, I want to do at least 1 or 2 this week, even though it's a crazy week. And my crypto scam is going to be really good tonight, guys. I still have a lot of work to do for it, but it'll be awesome. Any final thoughts? Any last announcements?
No, I gotta head out. Well, we'll continue this conversation on Twitter, as it seems that it never ends. Take care.
Thanks for the upload, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything. I'll be doing my own show for Bitcoin Tech Talk in a few hours, and I also have to finish my taxes. I'm sure that's going to be a big pain in the ass for a lot of people today. But
yeah, I was dealing with that last week. Holy shit! All right, man. So I guess I'll see you on the show a few more times, and then I'll see you in New York.
All right. Well, this song is done.
Later, man. All right, guys. Whoa, I missed that show. That was good stories. I hope you guys enjoy it. We still have over 1,000 people watching. Come on back. My best guess in about 5 to 6 hours. I have to do an episode with Forklog. I haven't done anything in Russian in a long time. So we will do an episode of Forklog at 1 p.m. on the Forklog YouTube channel. And then I have about 3 to 4 hours to finish up my work for the CryptoScam episode. I want to try to air it around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern time so that I can still catch Europe as they are awake and as Asia is waking up. I want to maximize the viewers. It'll be an absolute classic. Let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. Did that workshop yesterday in Philly, and it looks like Bitcoin has went up a little bit. We are off the $5,000 level. A little bit surprising on my part. Well, a little bit surprising for me. I thought Bitcoin was a little weaker than that. And however, the weekly chart is on a green 2. But this green 2 is nowhere near above a green 1 and above the 9 at the same time. I mean, obviously, it's much easier to go above a 9 than it is above a 1. So unless the current week starts trading above 54.70, I mean, the weekly chart will not give you a bullish trade indication based on sequential. If we're not using sequential and we're using other technical analysis, I would say that this is close enough. This is within margin of error of rejection by the, I believe that's the 50-week moving average. Yes. That is within margin of error of the 50-week moving average rejection, which continues to decline as the 30-week continues to decline. I mean, there's really no reason to rush into Bitcoin until you see these moving averages start to level off and reverse. The most interesting thing is going to be, now I expected Bitcoin to kind of get squeezed between the 30-week moving average and the 200-day moving average. But it's possible that it can get squeezed between the 200-day week moving average and the 50-week moving average. And if it starts to get squeezed between these two moving averages, we are looking at a Bitcoin consolidation around $4,000 going into September. And from there, we need to evaluate, is it going to break out or is it going to break down? I would be able to make the argument for both sides of the coin. The main argument for Bitcoin breaking out, assuming it gets, squeezed into a symmetric triangle between 6,000 and 3,000 in the vicinity of, 4,500. Let's split the middle here. My argument for it to be breaking out would be that it has consolidated at the lows long enough to kind of really piss people off, and the halving is coming. So those are sufficient reasons for it to go up. I can also make a major argument for Bitcoin, if it does get squeezed in this triangle, for why it would go down, and that's because it still hasn't separated from the shitcoins. And people have not felt the pain that we felt in the 2015 bear market. The regulatory landscape is still a total mess. So there's lots of reasons for it to go down, and people seem to be over bullish. By the way, later this week, we're going to have an even greater episode on this channel. We will have Murad, we will have Willy Woo, we will have Tyler Jenks, and we're going to have a little debate. Did Bitcoin actually bottom? It's going to be another classic episode, so stay tuned for later in the week when we do that episode. Let's go over to the daily chart, and that is an interesting gap. That doesn't seem right. Let me refresh this page here. Bitcoin can't actually gap like that. It's a 24-hour market. There we go. That's a much better picture. Let's take a look at this. Now, I like the CMF here, right? Like the CMF on a daily chart is pretty bullish, which does bode well for the bullish case. The sequential, however, is totally neutral. We were on a red. We have now price flipped to a green. It is leaning bullish, but that is a bearish candle. To me, right now, Bitcoin is in a no trade zone on a weekly chart and also on a daily chart. As long as Bitcoin stays below this line, which is 53.50, and stays, the next line is going to be a little bit tricky to draw. As long as Bitcoin stays between that line, actually, let me just draw it as a channel here. Let me click on this and delete it. Might be a better way to go. Let me click on this and delete it. It might be a tad early to draw this channel, but I'm going to draw it nonetheless. Where are the channels here? Parallel channel. I have no idea. Oh, here it is. Parallel channel, right? So, I'm going to stick it here and, oh wait, that's got to be a horizontal line here. And see, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? So you can either draw it this way, like that. Yeah, I like this one. So this channel, so Bitcoin is actually totally neutral as long as it stays in this channel. And it's a pretty damn wide channel. Don't blame me, blame the candlesticks. So it's going between about 53.30 and about 4,900. Now, I can make the argument that like it could really be a smidge higher. We're talking like 49.75, but it's really up to you. I can make the argument for both cases here. And as long as we stay in this channel, well, let's leave it wider a little bit. Like, I believe that Bitcoin is very difficult to trade. It has not chosen a direction. Now, is it more likely to break out or break down? Again, I can make the argument for both sides. From a fundamental perspective, I believe it should break down. From a technical perspective, it's probably more likely to break out because we are consolidating at the highs, right? And we kind of sort of still have room to the upside because we never really hit this moving average. And we kind of sort of have room to the upside to fully backtest the bottom of the triangle. Now, backtesting the bottom of the triangle at 6,100 becomes problematic for me as a bear in that we would have broken all of these resistance points, which I did not really expect we would break. But that would be an even more of a massive bull trap. Now, I still believe that we are in the bull trap of the $5,100 vicinity. I have not yet walked away from this statement. I remain, I am sticking to my bear hypothesis that the top is in going into the summer. Now, how do I know I'm wrong? That's very, very simple. All we have to do is trade at a higher price. And I am now wrong that the top is in for going into the summer. Very, very simple. Now, would I be a buyer of Bitcoin if we go up above the $5,400 area? Well, the answer is it depends how we get there, and it depends how far we pull back before we get there. If we pull back to the $4,500 vicinity, preferably the $4,000 vicinity, and then reverse strong, I would be interested in going long Bitcoin. But as of right now, to me, on a weekly and a daily scale, Bitcoin is on a no trade until I see which way it wants to get out of this rectangle. And if it stays in this rectangle for a month, then Bitcoin is in a no trade zone for a month. Again, find other assets. Here is the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart is pretty much neutral. It is sitting above the moving average. However, it's a green 3, it's a green 2 that may or may not have gone above a green 1, but the higher level timeframes are neutral. I'm considering this currently neutral. Here's the 4-hour chart. Looks like it's the latest one on a red price flip. Again, totally neutral. Here's the 1-hour chart. That's weird. It's so rare when you get a green arrow and a red arrow at the same time. It's like, what do you do? It's on a red one. If the next candle, so the 1 hour is not neutral. The 1 hour is pretty clear to me. And what it tells me is, now you still have 32 minutes, right? But let's assume that that is going to be the low for the current candle, which after the last couple of ticks might not be. So the way I would treat the 1 hour chart is if the next candle starts trading below this blue line, it is on a short trade. Because you quasi hit a 9, you had your 1 to 4 candle correction, you made a lower high, and now you want to go down. So to me, if that is the low of the current candle, which it may or may not be, going below this line next hour does execute a short trade on the hourly scale. Would I take that trade? Probably not. But if you're bored, or if I was bored, that's what I might do. Nothing more here. I'm dying to get to Lyft, actually. Not going to talk about that. Not going to talk about gold. Gold is on a red 8. We'll keep an eye on gold for next week. The S&P futures are pulling back a little bit, but still above 2,900. Let's see what happens going into tomorrow. It still looks somewhat okay. Don't have time to pull up Heikinashi right now, but thank you for your comment, though I'm not really looking at the comments. The S&P 500 weekly. The week has just started. Today is Monday. Let's not get crazy over this little red candle. Let's give it a day or two. This is what I get to. Lyft is down to $56. So I have been talking about Lyft. I really wish I was keeping an eye on Lyft every single day of every video since the day of the IPO. Unfortunately, I was only informed about Lyft on this day of April 2nd, and we pulled it up on April 2nd. I was then, the next time I looked at Lyft was unfortunately at the end of the day of April 10th, or like the morning of April 11th before the market was trading. And I did not get a chance to warn all of my followers that this is the perfect short trade of Lyft. Not that I'm giving away trading advice. But ever since that day, I have been saying that I am looking for Lyft to have a 50% straight drop. And I've said this before. I have some experience trading IPOs because I've done it. And I don't advise people trade IPOs, but I am really eyeing Lyft. I will try to look at Lyft every day from now on, mostly because I would be looking to pick up some Lyft shares in my retirement account if I get a perfect setup. That perfect setup is approximately $40 to $45. because that is the 50%-ish correction from the start. Now, if that correction, today is Monday and it's number 5. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and probably Friday, right? So Thursday or Friday, when we're getting into the 9 sequential, I could have my perfect trade on lift, but I would need it in the $40 to $45 range. I'm not looking to pick up lift here. It's just experience of trading IPOs, okay? You can't like teach that, right? It's just what I've done in the past. So I will try to keep an eye on lift for you. I can't short lift in my retirement account. I didn't think there were options, but there might be options on lift, but I haven't taught anybody how to trade options. So obviously I'm not going to talk about options. So that's pretty much lift. Everyone is always asking about Tesla. Oh, that's bad. Stay away from Tesla. But what usually happens when a stock is so beaten up going into earnings, earnings have a high probability of boosting the stock no matter how bad earnings are, because bad earnings are already factored in to the drop price. Now, would I risk Tesla beating earnings? Absolutely not. I have my own earnings trading strategies, and they don't involve guessing what not only what the earnings are going to be, but how the market is going to react to those earnings. Right now, Tesla daily is very bearish. You are on a red 3 that went below a red 2 at the second lowest closing low since last October. That is extremely bearish. What are my thoughts on the Uber IPO? I don't have any thoughts on the Uber IPO. I have not thought about the Uber IPO. I don't have any feelings. It's not about feelings. I don't have any thoughts. I need to find out when the Uber IPO is launching, and then maybe if I feel like sharing my knowledge on a free YouTube channel, we can walk through the Uber IPO every day of its publicly tradable stock for the first few weeks, like I should have done with Lyft. And unfortunately, I did the best I could, and because it wasn't really important to me. But now that I'm seeing the way it moves, it's just so freaking textbook. Wow. Again, if I was running my family office, like I probably should be doing, I would have been all over the Lyft trade. Can I look at Square? I guess. What's the ticker? Is it on here? Let me look at Tesla weekly. Hold on, before I add Square, and that's it, guys. Ooh. Be careful with I didn't, thank God I looked at the weekly Tesla. So be careful right here, right? Because earnings is next week, and the current week is on a 9. Now, I would never, ever recommend buying off of a 9 going into earnings week, right? But if you are a gambler and you really want to learn how earnings work, and you have, a few $100 you are willing to lose, that would be a good, this would be a little bit of like a fun trade for me personally, if I can time it right. But I would need to do some fundamental analysis on Tesla before taking a shot at it, right? Because it is coming into earnings, and I find it very interesting that there's a 9 here. Now, technically speaking, here's the last time Tesla hit a 9 at approximately the same price and on earnings date. And then look what happened that week. Now, I'm not saying history has to repeat, because here is the last time here's what Tesla did on earnings last time, and it actually broke up from having a weekly 9, and then you still ended up having a weekly 9, but it didn't stick. This is a non-perfected 9. If the stars and the moon line up, Tesla would crash down to approximately $250. And normally I would say this is not a good thing. Like, how many times can this setup trend line continue to support Tesla? And I think it can do it one more time. We can bounce off of this line one more time. And even if Tesla moves from 250 to 300, that could be a beautiful trade. So I need to just close the YouTube channel and trade earnings. So frustrating. But anyway, I will try to keep an eye on Tesla because of the weekly 9, because of earnings next week. I'll try to keep an eye on Lyft. What's Square? SQ. Oh, it's on here. There it is. Square. Square is neutral. I wouldn't touch Square right now. Again, it has earnings next in 2 weeks. The weekly chart, look, it's consolidating. Am I leaning bullish or bearish? I'm obviously leaning bullish, right? We are above the moving averages. The moving averages are rising. It took a little bit of a hit with the entire market. It is now back up. It's looking somewhat good on a daily scale. It's looking totally neutral. It's on a deferred 13 on the sequential. Earnings is coming in early May. You got about 2 to 3 weeks for earnings. I would just stay away from it. It's currently on a no trade zone. All right, guys. This is pretty much it. I can't look up every stock in the book. I'm sorry, Zach. I know you're asking me to look at Boeing. I can't look at them all. €5 to look at Netflix. Netflix is one of the first companies to announce earnings. I don't know if they announced it yet or they will announce it this week. I believe they're announcing it this week. Okay, so they will announce it tomorrow after market close. It's too late for me to trade Netflix for earnings. It's too close to the earnings date, and I haven't done any research. Now, Netflix is on a short trade according to sequential. Now, the rules of directional trading are never hold the stock through earnings. So the chart, the daily chart is bearish, but earnings is coming. The Netflix has not been beaten up like Tesla. Netflix can really move in either direction or not at all. My advice on Netflix is wait for earnings, and maybe I'll take a look at it after they announce and give you my technical opinion. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a longer episode than usual, but we did do another morning brief. We'll try to bring you more morning brief episodes soon. My own website, please check it out. The workshops, the indicator, the affiliate codes. Please feel free to support. I will probably have some kind of I haven't had time to do it yet. The CryptoScam that's coming later today is going to be a classic. It will probably get me into more legal trouble than I already am. I may or may not put up a legal fund donation address like Hodlnaut currently has and Peter McCormick currently has. I haven't yet. How do I stop screen share? There it is. I haven't yet decided. I'm going with the retro look a little bit. I wanted to give my skin a break, shave the beard, put on some hats. I got the Bitcoin standard bearer stick right there in the back. And guys, thank you for watching. Please check out CryptoScam later today. It's going to be a classic. That's all I can tell you is that it's going to be a classic. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck trading out there, and see you all on the next one.